Hello YouTube, today I'm here talking about some keyboards. So the keyboards I'm going to be talking about is the sd1 and the TS12. Both are made by Ensoniq. And just to give you a little background, so in the 90s, bunch of different keyboard companies made different keyboards. And one of them was the O1W by Korg. The other one was, a Roland D50, Korg M1, and a DX7 by Yamaha. So this keyboard basically tried to compete with all those keyboard. So is this one. As the time when they had a version 1, version 2, version 3 from all keyboard. So this would be version 3, I believe, and this is version 6th. So before this one, there was the Ensoniq VFX. It didn't have a floppy disk drive as this one has, and it didn't have a sequencer. This has a sequencer. And then the VFX came in, VFX SD, which basically had a sequencer and a floppy, but it had less waves. And the polyphony in the beats wasn't as good as this keyboard. With this keyboard, it has a floppy, a disk, a sequencer. The sequencer is on the other side, as opposed to in this keyboard on this side. The layout is exactly the same, and the waves are newer. They don't have the same waves. I personally like the waves on here for analog stuff, rather than this one, which sounds mostly like sampled. And I can see why Ensoniq made this keyboard at that time, because it needed something which had updated. But the layout is fantastic. I can see also why keyboard players didn't like it, and some studio guys loved it. There's the big pluses and minuses in both keyboards. Also with this keyboard, it has an option, as you can see up here. Let me just come in closer. Over here it says, let's see if I can focus on that, but basically that, yeah, it says SCSI, right? So basically you can put in SCSI interface and then put a CD-ROM or one of those super hard drives, CD-ROM or a SCSI player, in order to get the sample playbacks in here. So basically, if the keyboard didn't sample itself, if you wanted a sample, you had to use another keyboard called the ASR or the EPS16 by the same company, Ensoniq, and you would have sampled it on those keyboard, and you could have played it on this via the SCSI interface. This doesn't accept SCSI. The motherboard is not designed for that. This has more electronic and gizmos inside. There's more effects, there's more things in it. So this thing is really heavy, and when you open it inside, it has so much more electronics than this one. For some reason, I still prefer this one over this one, and we'll see why. So the idea for Ensoniq is to have a keyboard that would work, that you could have, a D50 in it, M1 Korg, D50 Roland, DX7 Yamaha, and an O1W, because the O1W had a great sequencer at that time. You could have sequenced and put it on floppies. So what this keyboard tried to do, put all of those elements as one. So this one, except this one added a sampling reader option, just like the Yamaha SY88. All right, so let's go on. This is some of the sounds. So this is the sounds that came in with this keyboard. So basic sound. So this one emulates the sound from the D50. There's another one called Star Drive. Brass. So you can use that same sound for jump, right? And so this is basic synthesis. However, when I programmed this keyboard at those years, I was able to get fantastic sounds that I can still use up to date. I still use these sounds in recordings, and I get a kick out of it all the time because, you know, I programmed them like 20 years ago and they're still good. Like, here's a Paseo string sound, which I call the D50 sound because at that time only D50 could have produced that sound. You either had to sample it or get it off the D50. Nothing else would have made it work. It's a string sound, which is basically 3 different layers. This sound is built out of 6 different strings. They come at you at stereo. One is a viola, one is a cello, one is just a multi-string sound, and they come in different octaves. And a little off fine pitch tunes, so give you that orchestration sound feel. Anyway, here it is. Very powerful, very beautiful, it's gorgeous. I have several variations of it. I have one that doesn't have all of the bass, so I can cut through the mix, you know. So, when you play things like that, then I have another one that it's the same without the bass, except it has a microtone. As opposed to this one, which has all the bass, much thicker, much heavier. Then I have, you know, since I've been an 80s kid, and Alphaville was my favorite band, and Forever Young, of course, was one of the famous hit back, you know, where I grew up and stuff. And the beginning synth power at those times were very, very hard to get because, you know, I think Alphaville used a couple of synths, not one, to get that effect, you know, because they have the regular kind of wave, and then you had, you know, something that comes right behind it, picks it up, go, and it was really hard to make, but I was able to do this. It took me forever. But here it is. Different stereo acoustics, and it's just gorgeous. I used to use it a lot. So also in the 90s, you know, a lot of nasty, dirty organs were used in such technos and house music, like, you know. Sound, and then I have the mode button by the you know, by the pitch and the mode, which I press on, and I can just, it goes into a different wave. I can program it to whichever wave I want. So I would play this song and then I would add this part. Anyway, this was always a fantastic feature. This keyboard always been my favorite of all times. This has the same stuff as this. So let me play some of the sounds that I made on this keyboard, which I tried to emulate on this, and I'll show you what happened. So here is this sound, which I used to use a lot. So it's like a bed of string, like a declamer, which at that time I mixed the guitar with the piano, a few acoustic guitars with the piano, and this is what came out, which is, I think, gorgeous. let's see, I made another sound. I try to emulate this sound. Okay, beautiful. I love this one. Okay, let's go over here. I couldn't put that on the track. It doesn't work. The EQ is a bit off. I don't know what it is. I tried so hard to get it the same, but it doesn't. The difference was when I went in here to program this did not have a viola wave, which this does. And the viola, and when I transposed down the viola to a lower pitch, it sounded pretty much like the cello on here. But when I take the viola and the cello, because this has a cello wave, not a viola, so when I take the cello wave and transpose it one octave up, it does not sound as good as the viola. And also the strings, you know, the multi-strings over here sound very muffled, and that's why you have this, like, you know, here's the, I'll show you, this is the strings, and I will show you over here again, and this will be the string here. So it's much clearer. You see? It sounds like it's coming at me backwards, and I tried everything to get it like this. It doesn't do that, and this really is a key to the sound. But anyway, so stuff like that doesn't really work. So if anybody think that they will get this keyboard and make it sound like, they'll buy this keyboard and make it sound like this one, impossible. It's not gonna happen. I thought when I bought this, because this one burned out, I had to fix it, and there's nobody who was willing to fix it, so I had to actually do it myself, which I was successful. And I'm glad to have it back, by the way. And I bought this one because I couldn't find another one like this online at that time. And I thought I was going to be able to program all the sounds the same, and you know, I went through all the LFOs and set everything exactly, measures as this from that to this, and this is what came out. However, this has a few good sounds that this doesn't have. Obviously, it has more modern sounds. It has like piano chords, and then I have a beautiful trance piano, which and you know, in those days, this type of music was very popular. But I still love both keyboards. I do love this one over this one, but I still love this one. Like I can get a few good sounds. Like this is a sound that Yanni likes to use, but when I program it on this keyboard, the problem is that this has a 32-beat polyphony, but still not powerful enough to carry the sound. When Yanni does this sound, he uses literally 6 different keyboards to get this sound. It's basically guitars which are flanged, like 4 of them flanged next to each other to make it sound like a 12-string guitar. And you know, and it's very, very sheer power. So the problem is when I play this sound, I can only hit one at a time. When I hit the second one, the polyphony kills it out. So most of those FM keyboards, all those digital keyboards and all the analog synthesizers worked on sound polyphonies, which, you know, most of you as keyboard players know by now that, you know, if it depends how much they gave you. So this is supposed to have 32 polyphony, which means you can have 32 sounds. So if you have one sound that's consistent out of 6 and you play 6 sounds. So let's see, 6 times 3 will come out to, I don't know, 24, and sorry, 18. And if you add another hand, which is another 6, you're gonna hit, 18 and 18, and that's, I think it's gonna be, you will kill the polyphony. So because this sound is so powerful, it kills all the polyphonies. That's why Yanni has his setup with 6 different keyboards, so you can get a perfect, very free and better sounding. So let's go over some other sounds that I have here. I have, of course, I did the Scarface sound back then. It's beautiful way it builds until just this is beautiful. I try to emulate some sounds like that on here. It just it doesn't go that way. I don't know, the waves here are not designed to do this stuff. I have another one for the Scarface as well. Now, another thing about this keyboard that a lot of people don't like, so there's a lot of keyboardists which I've read online said, oh, it's a piece of shit, this is a crap, it's no good for anything, it's completely waste of money. Well, if you guys are one of those guys, please send me your keyboard. I will take it. I will take 20 of these. These things are beautiful. I've played brand new keyboards and nothing sounds like this. I'm showing you some other sounds. Like today, I go on Facebook and I see keyboard companies, Chronos and all these keyboards are trying to emulate these sounds that, the couple last generations of rock stars and stuff use for their music. And they're always, they're getting a nice sound and everything, and the strings are sampled, so it sounds too synthetic. It does not sound the raw, like generic it's supposed to sound. So here's an example. This is the Queen song, The Show Must Go On, and it goes like this. So I hear all sorts of variations of sound of the new keyboards to make it sound like this, but it doesn't. It sounds with lots of effects. The push shots, the aftertouch does not feel the same. Even if I do it with the 50 strings, obviously the polyphony would not be enough, so I could use one key over here. As you can see, sheer power. It kicks ass. Put it next to the new stuff, this will cut out with a mix. It would sound better. You're not gonna need a preamp, you're not gonna need anything. This thing just will fuck shit and ass. I'm sorry to speak like that, but this is how this thing is. And then I have a few, you know, different variation of the same string. Softer. Fantastic. I still use these sounds to up to these days. You know, I have the laptop and I have all of the sample sounds. I have the Logic and I have multitude of sounds. But when I go through these sounds and I use them on a recording, I always come back to these. You know, this is a pizzicato sound that was famous on a D50. Right? And as I was using this D50 sound, string sound, the Paseo strings, I would put it on I would use the Paseo string setting, and I have the mode setting, and I would basically change waves so I can change the sound on a base of a touch, just like using a pitch wheel. There's two little buttons over here. So beautiful. I tried it over here as well. The pitch sounds a little better on here than it does over there. A little better, but the strings are horrible. Alright, I have this. Beautiful. Just straight to the point, cuts through the mix. Magic. Magic, sheer magic. So, to any of you fools who think that this keyboard sucks, it doesn't. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. If you guys don't want it, send it to me. I'll take it. I'll take all of them. I collect them. Not really. I don't have room for this place, for this stuff. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking to you about this. Leave some comments below. Any questions? If you would like also, I do have this. This is the sounds to this keyboard. And I can probably make the sounds out of this keyboard if you like any of the sounds here. But if you like any of my sounds, I'll be glad to send you. Of course, you know, there's some costs involved, but you know, I really don't care about money when it comes to this thing. I like people using my creations. It gives me a lot of pleasure. So, you know, if you guys send me a floppy and some money to send you, you know, for the shipping, you know, I would be glad to, you know, send you a copy of my disc. Just send me a floppy and some, you know, some cost for the shipping, and I'll be glad to make you a copy and send it to you. You know, it's just a pleasure for me to do this stuff. You know, I don't make money with music anymore. I have other jobs, and I like, this is my life, it's my passion, and you know, I don't think knowledge and music should be expensive. I mean, this stuff was expensive when it came out, but you know, anyway, it's hard to explain. It's just the way I believe in my life, that you know, that we have the world, it's a gift to us, and everything in it is a gift to us, and we should give to each other all the time rather than just take. Giving is better, sometimes giving and getting. So if everybody gave, everybody would receive, and that's my belief systems. Anyway, great chatting with you.